Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/ best of Redditor updates. This is a really long post, and from the small bit of skimming I did, it looks absolutely insane. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, get relaxed, get a snack probably because it's going to be a long one, and enjoy. So this one was posted to, I'm not sure where, to be honest, originally, but it has been put together by Choice Evidence 1983 in the Best of Redditor Updates subreddit. So let's just dig into it, shall we? There's lots of updates on this one. So yeah, there's a lot to get through. I think my husband fathered his best friend's children, and now one of them is attracted to my daughter. If that isn't a shocking starting sentence, I don't know what is. Now, I will say throughout this post, sometimes the person who's put it together is framing it from as in their perspective, reading the poster's post. And then sometimes it is the way the OP has written it. So if it goes back and forth, apologies if it gets a little bit confusing. Hopefully that will clarify it just enough for it to make sense. Okay, so OP 42F is married to Luke 43. His best friend is Amy, also 43. OP and Luke met in college. Well, he has known Amy since they were 7. They are best friends, surrogate siblings, and do everything together. OP and Luke have a great life together and see Amy frequently. OP thought of finding another man for Amy so she could have a family, but no luck. OP lists her and Luke's children along with Amy's children for easier reading. Okay. OP and Luke's children: Sophie, 15, Owen, 12, Louise, 10, and Carter, 6. I'm assuming these are fake names, by the way, so I don't think we need to worry about reading them out. Usually people use fake names for these. And then we have Amy's children: Tom, 17, Kaylee, 14, and the twins, Adam and Jenna, 9. Amy was not in a committed relationship and occasionally dating, found herself pregnant without knowing the fathers of her children. She was unconcerned about raising them alone. OP and Luke supported her financially and emotionally. There is the close friendship between Luke and Amy. OP began to suspect Luke may be the father of at least one, if not all. So why would she think that? Of Amy's children, given the lack of other significant relationships in Amy's life. Having doubts, OP struggles with the idea of Luke being unfaithful because they have a strong family bond with all the children growing up together. After OP and Luke's youngest child's birth, they decided Luke should have a vasectomy. Since then, Amy didn't get pregnant again, making OP question the timing of these events. Okay. I'm not sure that's where I would have gone first. Although I don't know. The fact that she's had, 3 pregnancies, no sign of any dads, nothing. Okay, yeah, maybe I might be a bit suspicious about what on earth's going on, but I still don't think that would be my first thought. I don't know. Luke regularly visits with Amy and her children, taking on a fatherly role, which seemed suspicious. Okay, maybe that might make me a little suspicious if he's taking on a fatherly role. OP noticed similarities in appearance between Luke and Amy's children, such as shared allergies and physical traits, leading her to question the possibility of Luke being the biological father. Okay, making a bit more sense now. We're putting puzzle pieces together here, aren't we? And it's starting to make a little bit more sense of why she's suspicious. OP acknowledges that their backgrounds differ. Amy's children appear biracial, which cause further doubts about paternity. But Amy could have somebody in her family who, obviously we don't know in which way biracial, to which race. So, that doesn't mean anything. So this caused further doubts on their paternity. OP kept suspicions about Luke and Amy's relationship to herself. Yeah, I understand why. Fearing her concerns would make her the bad guy and harm their families. OP reflects Amy's unsureness towards motherhood, suggesting Luke's involvement with her children may not stem from the desire to help her have kids. Yeah, it may just be that he's seeing his friend is struggling And he thinks, let me help her out because she's not doing very well right now, bless her. OP keeps her guard up regarding her daughter Sophie, who attracted the attention of Tom, Amy's eldest. Sophie declined Tom's invitation to date out of respect due to parental boundaries. OP's refusal to allow the relationship led to a conflict as Sophie didn't understand why. With OP's concerns, Amy and Luke supported her position, though Luke expressed worry that forbidding romance might intensify Sophie's interest. Over time, it showed Tom was increasingly drawn to Sophie, spending more time together, leaving OP feeling protective and powerless to prevent the romance. Sophie claims they are just friends. Tom is being affectionate, raising suspicions regarding secret dating. OP feels helpless with the possible relationship between Sophie and Tom, who might or might not be her half-brother, due to Luke and Amy's affair. Oh, this is all very Jeremy Kyle, isn't it? OP grapples with the emotional turmoil of possibly exposing the truth about the children's paternity. That could shatter the family dynamics and hurt innocent parties. Yeah, very messy indeed, especially considering nothing's been confirmed. You've only really got suspicion to go on. There's no solid evidence that I think the OP has found as of yet. So yeah, this is all very messy. Update, September 5th, 2024. OP decided to confront Luke and Amy regarding the suspicion she had about their close bonding and possible affair. Luke and Amy gave OP well-rehearsed responses, as she expected. Amy was upset about the accusations against her. Luke was more understanding and respected OP's feelings about her suspicions. Betrayal is going all around for all three. OP asked Luke for the paternity test, which upset him, but he agreed to it to give her the peace of mind on the children's identities. Amy didn't want the DNA test. She got so mad at OP for the accusations and told OP she won't get her children's DNA samples. Luke has continued with his claims that nothing has happened between him and Amy all of those years. I mean, yeah, in a way I can understand why Amy would be like, no, you can go and swing for it. I have nothing to prove and I refuse. However, if you aren't guilty, personally, I think I'd be like, yeah, do you know what? I'll give you that DNA test. You can pay for it because I know I've done chuff all wrong. So you can pay for it and be out of pocket just to see that you are absolutely full of it and none of this happened and it's all in your head. That's what I would do. I would be personally like, yeah, let me prove you wrong. So it's a little weird that she is refusing because she could have just said, well, if you want it, you can pay for it, love. Tom is old enough to consent on his DNA sample, but if he and Amy refuse to take DNA tests, OP might ask Luke to check with Tom's younger siblings. Luke doesn't want to take Amy to the court for this to happen. Here is where OP is worried. OP was hoping Luke could talk with Tom to prevent him from pursuing a relationship with Sophie. Luke is hoping OP can reconcile with Amy, but she doesn't think so. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, Luke's parents, Jim and Kat, learn about OP's fears regarding Luke and Amy. Turned out Kat had the same suspicions that OP had. Oh, here we go. My goodness. Jim is denying the fact on Luke and Amy having an affair, maintaining Luke and Amy are best friends and siblings. Siblings, obviously, in quotations, because they are not siblings. They, I suppose, are just as close. Kat has wondered if Amy's children were fathered by Luke. Oh, okay, so it's not just OP, it's Kat too, and we're really getting into the nitty-gritty now, aren't we? Update 2, September 6th, 2024. OP decided it was time to talk with Sophie, away from the rest of the families, because Sophie is old enough to acknowledge her father's possible affair with Amy. Once Sophie heard what OP told her about Luke and Amy, she asked her mother if they could ask Tom to join them. OP fills Tom in on what she told Sophie. Turned out Tom and Sophie also had the same suspicions OP did on their parents. Wow. Both Sophie and Tom explained to OP what they knew so far and how they hatched a little plan of having a fake relationship. Little turds. To see if they could get solid evidence against Luke and Amy. Oh, I love that. That's so conniving, but also quite funny, actually. OP was relieved to learn the truth behind Tom and Sophie's relationship. Oh god, yeah, I bet, because I bet she was really starting to worry about some incestuous goings-on happening, which would not have been good. And now has them in her corner. And after their lengthy conversation, Tom has volunteered his DNA sample so OP can see if Luke is his father or not. I really hope she gets the clarification that she wants and it's not the worst case scenario. Update 3, September 8th, 2024. DNA results are not back yet if Tom and Sophie are siblings or not, but it will be a while. OP has been talking with both Sophie and Tom so OP could gather all the evidence she needs for her lawyers to take a look regarding the divorce proceedings OP is looking into taking. OP clarifies several possibilities regarding Amy's children's paternity. OP does not believe Jim is having an affair with Amy. What? Jim? Why is Jim coming into this? Oh, God. Here we go. OP's house is in her name, not Luke's, so she has the legal documents and could have Luke move out by then. Well, that's good. That's good that she's got a bit of security legally. With Tom and Sophie's fake relationship plan in the play, OP wasn't able to find anything from Luke's devices. From comments, OP was able to dig deeper and located deleted messages between Luke and Amy. Wow. Talking about OP being the problem, OP immediately knew it was an affair behind her back. Letters, videos, and pictures were found too. That sent OP into a plan, packing Luke's stuff and kicked him out of the house after presenting the divorce papers to him. This is all going very fast now, isn't it? Luke realised he got caught and begged to work things out with OP. But she wasn't having any of it. OP's children now know that their father has to be away for a few days. Only Sophie knows about the affair. Jim and Kat are now troubled with Luke's version on why he was showing up at their doorstep after OP kicked him out. Kat knew the truth and Jim wasn't sure what to believe. Amy has gone radio silence after OP's conflict with her and Luke. Oh, it's all going on now, isn't it? Update 4, September 12, 2024. 6 days later. OP has been working with her lawyer, Paige, regarding the divorce papers and evidence she has on Luke and the affair. OP happened to snap her family lawyer, Zach, who represented Luke and OP, on an unrelated case. She has also taken a few steps ahead of Luke to get things squared away with proper documentation and primary custody of her kids, with supervised visits for Luke. I'm unsure on why supervised visits would be necessary. I mean, yeah, he seems like an absolute bag of ass for going and doing what he's done, but he doesn't, from what I've read so far, appear to have been abusive or anything like that, so I'm not sure why supervised visits would be needed. I'm not sure if things are going to be clarified in that way later on, but at the moment, that seems unnecessary. After the whole thing has blown up, OP has been in therapy and working on getting her kids therapy to cope with what happened and moving forward in healthy ways. OP has been working on doing the age-appropriate talks with her regarding the divorce with their father. Understandable. Very good steps to be taking. Therapy, legal, all very good positive steps to be taking. DNA results are in. Sophie and Tom are not siblings. For any doubts, the test did not show Jim fathered Amy's children because it would require a percentage of Jim's DNA to show up. OP, Tom, and Sophie are now confused too on the results. Now the question is, who is Tom's father, and did he father Amy's younger children too? Amy and Luke are now angry at OP as they have suspected OP took evidence from Luke's device. Amy has refused to apologise to OP for the possible affair. Verbal abuse was going on between OP and Amy because Amy believes OP is going after Luke for everything, including her children's paternity. Amy wasn't going to admit she and Luke were having an affair. Amy damaged OP's laptop and assaulted OP, which led to her having a police-filed report against Amy. Wow. OP is wondering about the motives Amy has against her. Yeah, this is all very crazy, isn't it? Amy's not doing any of this in the right way. If she's saying she's innocent, and if she is innocent of what OP is accusing her of, you would think that she would really go about this in a much smarter way, wouldn't you? Like, you'd think that Amy would take the legal route too. I think that they've definitely had an affair by the sounds of it. Obviously, the father and the children thing, though, now that's very up in the air, isn't it? Although there is also 3 other children, so who knows? Brief update, September 18th, 2024, 6 days later. Luke has now lawyered up. OP was advised from everyone else to have Amy arrested, but she knew she had to send her video evidence to her lawyers first to see if it was warranted enough for an arrest. OP had to keep the update brief because there were some events taking place which forced OP to put things on hold. Jim, Luke's father, has passed away from a heart attack. Flippin' heck, it is all going on. What? this going on? Everything is happening here. This is crazy. Both families were together at the funeral. OP didn't want to be stressed out with the affair, so she put it aside for the kids' sakes as they coped with their grandpa's passing. OP and Luke did not speak of Amy around their children to allow them to grieve properly without any extra stress. Good idea. OP mentioned about Kat and the test results. Turned out Kat has betrayed OP's trust and she didn't send in her son's DNA samples? What? Wait, whose did she send? It is likely Tom could still be Luke's. Kat had to come clean to OP because she was feeling guilty for her grandchildren. Kat, you little snake. OP's lawyers finished looking into evidence she gathered on Luke and Amy. They found something that OP didn't know about. OP has realised that it was something that Amy had been panicking and damaging her laptop. Oh, that's why she broke her laptop. With the discoveries, OP opted not to expand on what they were because it's not appropriate for the audience to know about, even an anonymous internet post. Oh, come on. No. OP is not sure if she'll be able to forgive Luke and Amy at this time, but with what was going on between Luke and Amy, it has tore OP apart. Yeah, understandably so. Update 5, September 28th, 2024. 10 days later. Hey everyone, this may very well be my last update for a while. I'm in therapy now. By the way, this is coming from the actual OP's perspective now. As are my children, and from what I hear, Amy's children are as well, so that's good. So I should probably be focusing on healthier ways to expel my feelings. Nonetheless, I've talked to my therapist about these posts, and according to her, venting anonymously online can be healthy up to a point. If I do talk about my life again, it may be in a different subreddits or something. I'm still not sure. Fair enough. I have also met with the judge now. Many were worried about how these posts might come back to bite me in the ass, legally speaking. The short answer is that they won't. The long answer is that because they are anonymous, there's technically no risk of defamation or slander. I've changed enough of the meaningless details and given everyone fake names. The posts aren't going to be relevant in the case, and I'm clear to keep writing them if I choose. So, as long as I don't discuss the details of the actual case itself, though I think the judge would prefer if I just stop writing these all together. One of the reasons I may do so. Without divulging the specifics, I went ahead and reported what I had learned and all hell broke loose. I knew I had to do so because Amy and Luke had changed gears after Jim passed. They began to make the case that Luke and I had always had an open marriage. What? Oh, come on now. You've got to prove that, and to prove that, it would need to prove your participation. And clearly there is no proof of that. That there could be no such thing as an affair, and any instances of Luke sleeping with Amy could not be counted against him. It is no accident that they chose to do this after we lost Jim. As far as I can tell, he was the only other person who knew about what Luke and Amy did. That's why Jim was always so cagey and refusing to believe that it could have possibly happened, because he knew that it had. Wow, what an ass. And would have done something about it. Now that they don't have to worry about that, I think they wanted to claim I always knew about the affair and that it was not a true affair. When I didn't report them, they must have assumed I didn't know the truth and they changed their story. But I knew. I reported it. And now they're effed. What did you report? The context that is missing here is driving me insane. Which unfortunately means everyone else found out. There was no way the children wouldn't learn the truth through the grapevine. I told Sophie and Tom personally because I figured they would learn of it anyway. The others did. Tom was pretty shell-shocked. I know I'm just the messenger, but I felt terrible and I wanted to comfort him, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do. Poor Kaylee did not handle it well. I'm told she had several meltdowns and then tried to run away. I know she tried to run away because she came to our house for sanctuary, and literally, I had to give her back. I knew all the reasons I had to, but I was sorely tempted to give the middle finger to all of them and let Kaylee stay with us against Amy's wishes, but no. I had to relinquish her, and honestly, nothing has been harder than that was. I know it wasn't my fault, but I still feel like I betrayed her. Sophie's also been dealing with a lot of anger towards her father, especially after he and Amy forced Kaylee to come back to stay with Amy again. All of this, it hit Sophie and Kaylee the hardest. Luke wanted to see Sophie again, and she refused. She wouldn't come out of her room. Technically, I was supposed to let him see her, but she's 15 years old. I told her to come out of her room, she wouldn't, so in my book I tried. This was after Kaylee's incident, so when Luke pressed me to force Sophie out of her room, I'm not proud to say I shouted at him to leave. My blood was boiling by that point. Throughout all of this, my soon-to-be ex-husband and his affair partner are still acting like I'm the bad guy. They sound like right pieces of work. Luke and Amy are angry with me, and that's putting it lightly. They have no right to be, but they are, or at least they're acting angry. I now have a restraining order against Amy because I was quite certain that she would confront me after the fact, and she did. After I reported them, and before Kaylee came over, Amy came to the house while my kids were home, banged on the door, and screamed. She was furious with me for what I had done, but I don't know what she expected me to do. I called the police, but Amy was gone by the time they showed up. They were just as useless as last time, to be honest. When Kaylee came to me for asylum, Amy came after her, but I wouldn't let her in until she called the cops herself. I would only let one of them take Kaylee. Amy was not setting foot in my house. I was very clear to explain the situation, but it didn't matter. I'm not surprised at all. Amy later smeared me on social media and framed me as a kidnapper. Oh, come on, Amy, you absolute tube. I set the record straight without divulging too much information about the circumstances of the situation, which I was tempted to do. Luke also gave me the lecture of a lifetime when I saw him, but I just cutting him off and spitting the facts in his face. I don't know if it's been my time away from him, but I'm learning to recognise his bullcrap now, where previously I fell for it every time. He always sounds so reasonable and sweet, but what he actually says is often circular and evasive. Honestly, I'm so angry with him for what he's done to his children, all of them, Kaylee especially. I want to adopt that girl. I know I can't, but I want to. Kat and I had a long talk as well. So far as I can tell, she didn't know, and she genuinely feels sorry for her earlier deception. Trust takes time to rebuild, but I also understand that she was in an awful position. But now that certain things have come to light, she's kind of in shambles herself, so I pity her. See, I kind of think Kat's full of absolute shite, to be honest with you, because why, if she didn't think that her son could have done something so bad, would she have hidden the DNA results? No, Kat can go in the bin and all, sling them all. Not to mention, if Amy loses custody of her children, and she very well might, I'll need all the help I can get. I can't take all of them in. I don't have the space. Kat will need to do some of the legwork. So I'm trying to give her the chance to earn my trust back. So out of necessity, I can't speak to long term, but if all goes as it should, Luke is not going to be getting any visitation of my kids. We'll know soon enough though, and it will all be on record. If Amy's children were fathered by him, all I know is they've always been quite certain Kaylee was. Though they never had her tested. Okay, so I'm wondering if this thing that she found out and reported to the police was Amy being abusive to her kids. I'm wondering if that's what it was, which would then make sense why she was saying that Luke could only have visitation rights, because like with supervised visitation, should I say, because then obviously if he knew that that was going on and he was turning a blind eye, he's just as bad as Amy. I'm wondering if that's what that could have been. So far as I can tell, Amy hasn't really been intimate with anyone other than Luke for a long time. For the record, Kat is still supporting Amy financially, and by that I mean she's supporting Amy's kids. I don't mind that. If Amy loses custody, that all goes away anyway. Yeah, I mean, the kids are stuck right slap bang in the middle here, and that's not fair on them. As to the how and why of Luke and Amy getting together, from the letters, I've put the pieces together as best I could. Amy was SA'd as a child, and Luke was apparently the only person she felt safe exploring her sexuality with when they were in high school. It was a very bad idea, and they both knew the reason it was a very bad idea well before they made that choice. As to lie about them being surrogate siblings, apparently they always did have that kind of relationship emotionally. But they also did this. After Tom was born, they also believed Tom to be theirs, going off of the letters. The bond took on more romantic aspects as well. Amy describes Luke as my person, and he says the same about her. I did read the letters in more depth, as much as it sickened me. I wanted to understand. Oh god, I bet that was awful to read. I'm doing better overall though. Personally, I'm doing better, which makes me feel kind of guilty because no one else is. My kids are miserable, which makes me miserable, but I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel and I want them to see it. Luke and Amy are miserable, which honestly, I'm not going to say I'm glad about, but I don't know what they were expecting. They've been playing a monstrous game for decades. It was always going to have consequences sooner or later. Amy's kids are miserable, especially Kaylee. I wish I could reach out to her again, but I absolutely can't, except through Tom. And he needs to play this carefully. Kat is miserable too. We are still reeling from the loss of Jim, and honestly, Kaylee's incident really tore my heart in half. But I think I'm over the hump and I'm taking comfort in how I'm actually choosing myself for a change. Yeah, this is all so messed up. Additional information from OP clarifying some details that were asked repeatedly. OP. It's not about the cheating. Luke and Amy committed a particular crime that would raise alarms about whether the children are safe with them. Oh, what was that? Oh, that's not good, and I would hate to think what that was. And that's what I reported. Amy might lose her kids for this reason. This also has to do with the DNA tests. Due to the nature of the crime, they will be mandated. I did see the judge at the same time as Luke and our lawyers and asked him if these posts were okay. What is so hard to understand about that? Getting a lot of comments where people say, "Judge, don't give legal advice," but they do make judgments. It's right there in the name, and that's exactly what happened. I explicitly said I cannot take in all the kids if Amy loses them, but Luke certainly won't be able to. So he's no less on the hook than she is. Kat will most likely be granted custody, but I will continue to assist and provide somewhere to stay. Kat won't mind, and I'm a lot more than their dad's ex-wife. I'm the mother of their half-siblings, who they've seen nearly every day for their whole lives. That's not nothing. Yeah, exactly. It's so tangled, all of this. It's so tangled. Everyone is involved with everyone, and it is very messy. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Update. 2, I think my husband fathered his best friend's children 1 month later. October 31st, 2024. Happy Halloween, everyone. It's been a while and things have continued to spiral. I'm not surprised. Had a number of comments and private messages wanting to check in, which I appreciate. While I obviously still can't talk much about it, I've shown this post to my legal counsel before uploading it and had it approved as safe. Yeah, I think because you've kept everything so anonymous, there's not a lot anyone could say. So, the headline here, which I already discussed in the comments, is that Luke and Amy talked about themselves as half-siblings in the letters I found on Luke's laptop. Don't tell me this is where I think it's going. The timeline is still a bit unclear to me, but Jim had an affair with one of his college-age students and she got pregnant. Years later, her daughter became friends with Jim's son. Amy was abused in her parents' house and everyone in Luke's family wanted to get her out, which eventually they did. At that point, Jim told Luke and Amy the truth. It wasn't until a couple of years later that they began to sleep together. So they knew they were siblings and they started to sleep together. And that is what that whole legal thing is, which is why the in question then would be the kids' safety around them, because they knew that they were being gross, incestuous, icky, yuck, disgusting. What? Oh, these two people are a piece of work. As far as recent updates, Kaylee has spent some time in a psychiatric ward. Oh, bless her. Tom has discovered that she had done something very reckless. Social services have also seen fit to remove her from Luke and Amy's care, so she is currently staying with Kat. Amy hated it, and I'm told she raged for some time at the idea, and that I would poison Kaylee against her, and that in her anger, she made some choice threats. I have been advised not to reach out myself, but Kaylee has been given all my information, and I did send her a message promising her that she could always come to me about anything. I think that's more than all right. If she initiates, I will not turn her away. Oh my goodness, poor Kaylee. My troubles are not over, and they got worse after the test results came back. Everyone was tested. I finally know the truth now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Luke is the biological father to all 4 of Amy's children. After years of wondering, confirmation feels strangely hollow. It changes almost nothing at this point, but it's proof that he was unfaithful to me. Luke is still maintaining that it was an open relationship. I had thought to use the incest charge against him and Amy, but that plan hit a roadblock. The 2 of them have mandated testing as well. And at least according to the results, Luke and Amy are not siblings. I don't understand it either. Perhaps Jim was wrong all this time? Either way, I still have proof that they believed it to be true. But they are now insisting that that was just kind of a role play for them, which is still just as disgusting, Luke, you absolute bellsprout. What are you talking about? Gross! Luke also threw a curveball at me by demanding that we test my children as well. I honestly hated him for that. They've been through enough as it is, but he is claiming that I also participated in the open relationship and that the paternity of our children will prove it. In particular, he was adamant that Sophie be tested. I couldn't figure out why, but I think Luke must know something I do not, because the test results came back. What? Because the test results for Sophie came back negative. They said that Luke was not the father. Then Luke began to claim that he had tested Sophie years ago to be sure. I was certain he was lying, that he had somehow sabotaged the test, but he did submit a DNA test from about 10 years ago, and it likewise maintains that Luke is not Sophie's father. OP, would you care to explain? Although, to be honest with you, I wouldn't put it past Luke to have managed to do something absolutely weird and evil and obscure to make the test read in a way that it shouldn't. Before anyone asks, no, I have never had an affair of my own. I never cheated on Luke. I had no idea how this had happened, and I could not make sense of it. I requested another test, and that has yet to arrive. But with the 2 tests already, I'm bewildered and frightened. I don't know how this is possible, since I was never unfaithful to Luke. I can only assume that something was done without my consent. I have never been SA'd as far as I'm aware, but there were a few nights back when I used to get drunk with Amy that someone could have possibly drugged me. What scares me is that Luke tested Sophie years ago. I feel like he knows more about this than he is letting on. I've discussed this with my therapist and my lawyer. I've tried to get to the bottom of it, but I just don't know. Yeah, this is insane. Absolutely nuts. What on earth? I have been upfront about everything with Sophie. I believe Luke is trying to make her doubt me, to drive a wedge between us. I've promised her that I never had an affair, that these results are impossible. I don't think she believes me completely, but I also don't get the sense that she's angry with me or that she feels betrayed. I think she would honestly prefer that it was true at this point that Luke was not her birth father. The rest of my kids don't know about this part yet, but they probably will soon. Gossip is spreading like wildfire amongst Amy's kids and my own. I've never been the sort of parent to read my kids' texts, so I'm not sure about the specifics. But I'm not going to address this with them unless Sophie gives me her blessing. She was the only one whose results came back negative, and the rest of the kids are proven to be Luke's. Kat is not speaking to either of her children, but that's not to say she's giving them the silent treatment. Technically, they're not allowed any contact with Kaylee right now. So keeping distance isn't really optional, but Kat is furious with both of them. Now that she's seen the state Kaylee is in, she's likely going to explode at them when she next has the chance. Good. I wish I could describe a happy ending for our family, but the trouble is far from over. I'm actually somewhat traumatized by the idea that I might have been assaulted and never known it until now. And if that is indeed the case, I'm not looking forward to the conversation where Sophie finds out about that and about her origins. Anyway, I don't know when I'll next update, but I am taking the kids to a haunted house tonight, so that could be fun. Oh, good. It sounds like you need a little bit of respite. Relevant comments. OP on DNA testing herself on Sophie's DNA after finding out Luke isn't Sophie's father. OP. I don't think a mishap is possible because I kept Sophie with me the night after she was born. She didn't go into a nursery, but to be sure, I could do this as well. Any chances that Sophie's DNA might be mixed up with someone else's, or if OP isn't the biological mother? OP. Anything's possible, but I don't see how. She was never really out of my sight. I was a first-time mum and I felt very protective. I relaxed more with later pregnancies. I have heard of chimeras. I don't think that's a situation we're dealing with, but I can look into that as well. I'm worried about testing Sophie's DNA against mine. I'm still going to, but if the test says she isn't mine, what if the state takes her away? OP unlikely to be drugged when she got pregnant with Sophie. OP. There were a few nights around that time period where I got pretty drunk. Yes. So I'm guessing what she's saying is that could be possible. Commenter 1. If he only insisted he be tested against Sophie and not against your other children, he must know something you don't. Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a very interesting perspective. Yeah, that's quite true. Given that I'm willing to take you at your word and that you haven't been unfaithful, that opens a massive can of worms that I'm genuinely afraid to describe in detail. I hope you get the answers, OP, and that Luke is held accountable. OP. He wanted all of our children tested, but he was particularly insistent on Sophie. OP explains about Sophie's features against herself and Luke. OP appears to be Asian. Yes, she does look more like me than Luke, but she's not my spitting image or anything. She still looks enough like me that I find it hard to believe that she isn't my blood. Okay, so does that mean that one of you are of Asian descent then? Is that what I'm understanding? Which to me then would then make sense why Amy's kids appeared biracial, because then I'm assuming that means that Luke is of Asian descent. I am struggling here. I am on the struggle bus. My poor brain. I'm gonna need a fat lie down after this. Okay, and that, for now, is where we reach the end of all of the updates. Now, supposing that this story is real, because obviously it's very, very out there. However, insane things happen in the world every day to normal everyday people, so it is possible that it is fully true. I've seen some comments that were questioning the authenticity of the story. Either or, this story was absolutely insane. I need to go for a little lie down because my head hurts. Honestly, it's the morning right now and I was not prepared to have my poor little grey matter scrambled like this. But having said that, if you made it to the end of this mammoth video, I appreciate you so much. I hope your brain doesn't hurt too, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I hope you forgive me. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can come back, because I do post every single day. So yeah, hopefully not things as absolutely insane as this, but on a par, quite close most of the time. Other than that, I hope you have a really good rest of your day, whatever you're doing. I'm going to get off and go and eat some bickies. Goodbye.